Ancient Rome, emperors, everyday life, and the afterlife. Ancient Rome began as a tiny village on the banks of the Tiber River. Over time, it became a republic, then one of the largest empires the world had ever seen. Roman roads crossed continents, Roman laws shaped nations, and the idea of Rome still echoes in words like republic and senate. In this video, we look at how the Romans lived, how they ruled, and what they believed waited for them after death. This is ancient Rome, explained. The story of Rome often begins with legends. One famous legend says that twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, were raised by a she-wolf. Romulus later founded the city of Rome in 753 BCE. Behind the myths, there was a real community of Latin-speaking people living on several hills near the Tiber River. Over time, Rome grew stronger and took control of nearby towns. At first, Rome had kings. Later, the Romans removed their last king and created a republic. In the Roman Republic, power was meant to be shared. There were elected officials called consuls. A group of wealthy men called the Senate advised and influenced decisions. Not everyone had equal power. Rich families called patricians had more influence than ordinary people called plebeians. But over generations, plebeians fought for more rights. The Republic lasted for hundreds of years and expanded through war and alliances. As Rome grew, it became harder to control. Generals gained great power through their armies. One of the most famous was Julius Caesar. He conquered Gaul and became extremely popular. Some senators feared that Caesar would make himself a king. In 44 BCE, they assassinated him in the Senate. After years of civil war, Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, defeated his rivals. The Senate gave him the title Augustus, and he became the first Roman emperor. This did not mean the Senate disappeared. It still existed, but real power now rested with the emperor. Over the next centuries, many emperors ruled Rome. Some, like Augustus and Trajan, were strong and capable. Others, like Caligula and Nero, became famous for cruelty or madness. The empire reached its greatest size under Emperor Trajan in the 2nd century CE, stretching from Britain in the north to Egypt in the south, and from Spain to the Middle East. So, what was it like to live in ancient Rome? Well, the Romans lived in a very unequal society. At the top were the wealthy, who lived in large houses called domus, with painted walls, mosaics on the floors, and indoor courtyards. Many ordinary people, though, lived in crowded apartment buildings called insulae. These had small rooms, very little privacy, and sometimes were, frankly, unsafe. Most Romans were free citizens, but a very large number were slaves. Slaves had no legal rights at all. They could be forced to work in households, on farms, in mines, or on building projects. Some were treated cruelly, others were allowed to buy their freedom. But honestly, all were considered property. Food was simple for most people. Bread, porridge, olives, and cheese. If they could afford it, maybe some vegetables, fruit, fish, or meat. The Romans loved public entertainment. In Rome and other cities, there were theatres for plays, circuses where chariot races took place, and amphitheatres like the Colosseum, where gladiators fought and wild animals were shown. Public baths were also very important. People used them not only to wash, but to exercise, relax, and, of course, talk about politics and gossip. Before Christianity became important, Rome had a religion with many gods. Some of them were similar to Greek gods, but with Latin names: Jupiter, king of the gods, like Zeus; Juno, his wife, protector of women and marriage; Mars, god of war; Venus, goddess of love; Neptune, god of the sea; Mercury, messenger god and guide of travellers; Minerva, goddess of wisdom and crafts. There were also many local gods, spirits of the home and land, and even deified emperors. Religion in Rome was very practical. The Romans cared about keeping peace with the gods. They made sacrifices, held festivals, and carried out rituals to win the gods' favour. The state and religion were closely linked. Priests often held political roles, and emperors were sometimes worshipped as gods after their deaths. The Romans believed that death was not the end of a person. When someone died, their body was usually burned on a funeral pyre or buried in a tomb. Family and friends gathered, said their goodbyes, and made offerings. They believed in manes, the spirits of the dead, who could watch over the family if honoured properly. Graves and tombs were often placed along the roads leading into cities, so the living would walk past and remember the dead. Many Romans believed that the soul went to an underworld, something like the Greek idea of Hades. There, the dead lived on as shades or spirits. The details of the afterlife were not always described in the same way. Different writers and philosophers had different ideas. Some stories spoke of better places for the good and worse places for the wicked. But early Roman religion focused more on respect for ancestors and proper rituals than on detailed pictures of heaven and hell. Like the Greeks, the Romans also had philosophers. Some, like Cicero, mixed Roman politics with Greek ideas. Others, like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, followed Stoic philosophy. Stoics believed that the universe is guided by reason and that people should live in harmony with this order. They taught that you cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. Virtue, such as courage, justice and self-control, matters more than wealth or power. Stoics did not always agree on what happens after death. Some wrote about the soul returning to a larger divine fire or mind, while others suggested that the individual does not continue in the way we think of a personal afterlife. What they shared was this idea: a good life is one where you live with virtue, no matter what happens to you. In the 1st century CE, a small Jewish movement began around a teacher named Jesus in the Roman province of Judea. His followers said he was the Messiah and that he rose from the dead. They spread his teachings across the empire. At first, many Roman authorities saw this new faith as suspicious. Some Christians were punished or killed for refusing to worship Roman gods or the emperor. But the movement grew. By the time of Emperor Constantine in the early 4th century, Christianity had become large and influential. Constantine gave it legal status, and later emperors supported it even more. Christianity changed how many people in the empire thought about death and the afterlife. Christians taught that there is one God. Jesus is the Son of God, who offers salvation. After death, there is judgment. The righteous can go to heaven and live forever with God. Those who reject God face separation and punishment. Over time, Christianity went from a persecuted faith to the main religion of the Roman Empire. The old gods of Rome lost their temples and sacrifices. The Christian view of heaven, hell, and the resurrection of the dead became central for many people. The Roman Empire grew very large, and large systems are hard to hold together. There were problems, economic troubles and heavy taxes, power struggles and civil wars, pressure from outside groups, often called barbarians by the Romans, such as Goths, Vandals, and Huns. In 395 CE, the empire was formally split into two parts. The Western Roman Empire ruled from Rome and then Ravenna, and the Eastern Roman Empire ruled from Constantinople. In 410 CE, Rome was sacked by the Visigoths. In 476 CE, the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustus, was removed from power. Historians often use 476 CE as a symbol of the end of the Western Roman Empire. The Eastern Empire, later called the Byzantine Empire, continued for nearly another 1,000 years. Rome fell as a political power, but its influence did not disappear. The Romans left behind laws that shaped legal systems in Europe and beyond. Latin, which became French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian. Roads and buildings that can still be seen today. Ideas about republics, citizenship, and rights that inspired later leaders and revolutions. Christianity, which became the main religion of the empire, also shaped Europe and much of the world for centuries. Roman ideas about the afterlife moved from vague underworld beliefs toward detailed Christian concepts of heaven, hell, and judgment. From the way your city is laid out, to the words you speak, to ideas about law and government, traces of Rome are still all around us. Ancient Rome rose from a small settlement to a mighty empire, then faded and changed into something new. Its people lived in crowded apartments and grand villas. They cheered at races and gladiator fights. They honored many gods, then turned to one god. They wondered what lay beyond death, just as we do today. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of ancient Rome, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who loves history. Tell us in the comments which part of Roman life or which emperor you find the most interesting. Until next time, keep asking questions and keep exploring the past.